Boxing has seen some fights turn into spectacles over the years, but the sport has never seen an event quite like this one.
Boxing, along with superstar entertainment like you've never seen in one building.
The 24-year-old YouTube star Jake Paul will enter the ring against former MMA champion and Olympic wrestler Ben Askren.
Is that it's more than just a fight, it's entertainment all the way around.
Paul will continue his unlikely journey as a boxer with his third professional fight, but this time his opponent is an actual fighter and not a fellow YouTuber or an NBA player. It will be the first time that the supremely confident Paul has faced anyone with any fighting experience, while Askren aims to silence the big mouth of the social media superstar. Askren represents Paul's toughest test yet, though, since he owns a 19-2 record as a professional MMA fighter.
I'm a world-class athlete, and he's Jake Paul.
The 36-year-old Askren started out as an NCAA champion wrestler at the University of Missouri before competing in the 2008 Summer Olympics. He held the welterweight title in both Bellator and won championship before joining the UFC in 2019 with a career record of 18-0. Who wins Askren vs Paul? And which prop is a must back? Exhibition matches have been part of boxing for a century, going back to the 1920s and 30s, when there were arguments over whether the heavyweight boxing champion or the heavyweight professional wrestling champion or a fighter from traditional martial arts was the baddest man on the planet. The most famous of these events was Muhammad Ali vs Japan's professional wrestling champion Antonio Inoki in 1967, although that wasn't a boxing match, but a mixed rules encounter. Most of these exhibitions predate the advent of mixed martial arts in the 1990s. After the success of last November's exhibition between Mike Tyson and Roy Jones Jr., it was inevitable that Jake Paul would receive a headline fight. Paul took on Nate Robinson as the main undercard in that event, and it ended up as one of the most watched pay-per-view events of all time. Jake Paul, a 24-year-old who is considered one of the most popular and polarizing personalities on the internet, and his younger brother of fellow social media influencer Logan Paul, has made waves in the boxing world since his debut in January 2020. On that night he defeated fellow YouTuber Anison Gibb, real name Ali Louis Alfahri, via first round TKO. After his knockout of Robinson, Paul floated a number of names on social media as future opponents, and most of them were not boxers but cage fighters. Ben Askren is a two-time NCAA champion, a world champion in two different global mixed martial art organizations. His athletic resume is an impressive one: former two-time NCAA wrestling champion, a two-time Dan Hodge Trophy winner, a 2008 Olympian, and a former Bellator and One Championship welterweight champion. The 24-year-old YouTuber is taking his training very seriously, and although he hasn't faced a quality opponent, he's shown a great jab, some solid power, and appears to be fundamentally sound. As for Askren, despite being a champion in two MMA promotions and a stint in the UFC, the world-class wrestler simply isn't a very good boxer. His whole game was set up around his grinding wrestling and brutal ground and pound strikes. Askren, despite having shown unorthodox boxing skills in his MMA fights, presents a new level of challenge for Paul.
Let's be honest, Jake Paul isn't a fucking boxer.
Contrarily, Askren does have plenty of experience in hard training for his UFC bouts. Wise guys think that the longer Askren lasts, the better he will do in later rounds. Sharps see the real potential of Askren wearing down Paul. Askren is expected to employ a strategy in which he doesn't engage Paul in the early rounds. He wants to play a waiting game instead of getting sucked into an early clash against Paul, the better and more experienced boxer.
This is boxing versus MMA, and you're gonna see the difference.
In Paul's first two fights, Ellison Gibb and Nate Robinson went after him early with disastrous results. Paul defeated Gibb in the first round technical knockout.
First round knockout victory.
Following that was a knockout win in the second round over Nate Robinson. If Paul becomes a real fighter by beating Askren, the question of whether he is a real boxer remains up in the air.
Make history with historic events and break pay-per-view records.
But boxing is not a sport that evolves quickly, and Paul's plan to use Twitter beefs, Instagram skits and global headlines to become the next huge star of the sport presents challenges.